Hello, beautiful people. My name is Sam Hind, and welcome back to the Direct Selling Accelerator podcast. Today, we're going to do a take two of an interview that I had the pleasure of recording not once, but twice for all of you. Only the very first time we did this recording, I missed Tech Savvy Sam, forgot to turn my microphone on. So I had the pleasure of interviewing this lovely lady twice. Now, you guys get the better of the two interviews. In this interview, I'm going to be chatting with Kyrya Clancy from SeneGence International. She's going to be sharing a little bit with us about her history and experience in direct selling. She's also going to share with us a little bit of her experience working with the field over the last few years whilst she's been with SeneGence. But here's the thing, I'm going to give you a little bit of a warning here. This interview is where we're going to be dishing out just a tiny bit of tough love. We're going to be speaking to two different audiences today. Specifically, we're going to be talking to those of you that feel a little bit stuck right now. And we're also going to be talking to those of you who are new in the business, whether you're in party plan or network marketing, any MLM business. We're going to be sharing with you some insights and also some nuggets of gold, as we continue to refer to them throughout this episode, with you, both from my perspective and also from Kyrya's. You're going to love listening to this beautiful lady. She is energetic. She's positive. She is one of a kind. And she's going to dish out just a few of those tough love and words for us today. I think you're going to really love this interview. So I'd like to invite you to be a fly on the wall, sit in and listen to this conversation. We have a few laughs in here, but just remember, bit of tough love for those of you that are feeling like you need a little bit of a boot and a shove along. Kyrya's got some wise words of wisdom to share with you guys today. So jump on in and listen in, and I hope you enjoy. Hey, everybody. Welcome on back to the Direct Selling Accelerator podcast. This is a take two version of this particular podcast episode. I'm going to welcome back the beautiful Kyrya Clancy from SeneGence Australia, SeneGence International. Thank you so much for joining me, Kyrya.
Not a problem. The things people do just to spend time with me, honestly.
I know.
Yeah.
So to come clean, we could have pretended that, you know, we never have problems with technology. We're so on top of everything. We know what we're doing. Can I just put it out there? Everybody that's listening to me right now, we teach what we teach because we learn the lessons the hard way. And we don't want you to learn the same lessons the hard way. And there have been times that I have done some really silly things. And this podcast interview was one of those times. I recorded a beautiful, amazing interview for all of you to listen to, where Kyrya and I had this fantastic chat. We had so many gold nuggets in there. It was brilliant. Came out the other end of it, sent it to our podcast team, who very quickly sent it back and said, Sam, your microphone was not turned on for that whole interview. So...
I mean, I just have to stop though and really just thank you so very much, because those people who know me know how much of an issue I have with technology. So the fact that I am on a podcast with Sam Hind, who forgot to turn her microphone on, like that actually makes me feel so much better about my life. I'm just putting it out there. So
I was very worried about telling you, actually, because I knew it was so hard for us to get our time together to be able to get the interview done in the first place. And I left Kyrya this voice note saying, you're never going to believe this. And then the response I got back from her was, I'm so excited about this. And so here we are again, re-recording for you guys. But, you know, sometimes the universe works in mysterious ways. And I feel that this was meant to be, because we've decided to slightly change what we're going to talk about since we're doing it for a second time. And partly that's because we would just get bored talking about the same thing twice in a row. So,
well, I mean, there's that, plus also as well, don't ask me to remember what I said 30 seconds ago. Okay. So let's just be real about it. Okay.
That's fair. So we have got some of the gold nuggets we've managed to recapture. We're going to be bringing them back just for you guys. But I suppose I better start by, I've already given you guys a little bit of an insight into who Kyrya is. But Kyrya, how about you tell our listeners a little bit about who you are, what you do,
Mhm.
and then we'll dive into some of those gold nuggets that we have dangled in front of everybody.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me. I must confess, it's one of those times in life, like I know that there's other people that, fangirl over people. I generally tend to fangirl over people that I look at their ability and I think, wow, that's just amazing. And to see what it is that they do with changing the industry, no matter what that industry is. And I've seen quite a few people have quite a bit of self-development as being part of your, the program that you guys run. So first of all, the pleasure is mine. Let me tell you. And then also is, who am I? Okay, so first of all, my name is the thing that starts off my whole life, and that is, it's Kyrya, like Syria. Yes, I've said that my entire life. That's number one. Number two is, this is definitely not where I had in my life plan to be when I had started setting that out when I was 16. You know how we all do that one. However, I'm happy to say that I feel extremely grateful that I am actually in this position, because I never could have imagined having the opportunity that I have to be able to help so many different people in their lives with their businesses, So that then leads me to, I'm actually the regional sales manager for Australia and New Zealand with SeneGence International. That's just, if you don't know about us, think about lip sense, the stuff that doesn't kiss off. You're welcome. And I don't know if you want me to expand on sort of who, what, why, how I came to be, or if that's something else that you plan on.
Well, we're going to dive in there a little, because I've decided to change this episode up just a little bit. And although, Kyrya, you come to us obviously as somebody who works with the field in helping them to grow their SeneGence businesses and get the most out of themselves and achieve their dreams, and you do an incredible job about that. And one thing that I know people will probably get from this as they're listening to us today is that you are so passionate about loving on people, and I really appreciate that. But I want to tap into a little bit more your experience prior to being in this role, because here's the thing that I don't talk about an awful lot with our listeners, but I think it's a great opportunity to do that today. And that is that both you and I have got a past experience of working very deeply in the industry. And so there have been a lot of changes that we have observed over the years. And part of the reason that you and I do what we do now is because we feel that we are now better placed to help people with those changes than what we necessarily are within the industry anymore. That being said, you and I often have little moments where I feel we both miss having.
Are we on the wrong side?
No. Why aren't we in there anymore? And I know that we're supposed to be doing what we're doing. That's why we're here. But it doesn't mean that we don't have an experience that we can bring to the table. And I really want to tap into that. Before I do, I told you I was going to say this. I'm going to say this once, and I'm going to pre-warn everyone listening to us today. Kyrya has a way of being very honest. And that's part of the reason that I've pulled you in here. And you explained it in a great way. And I want you to re-explain it in that same way, because we're going to do a bit of tough love today, right? So you tell them what you said to me.
Well, I'm just not the person who can continue to talk to somebody who's just had a cappuccino and has got the chocolate on the top of their mouth or whatever. I'm not that person. And I know I normally do the whole like sorry not sorry, but I've actually come to this point in my life where I'm like, actually, you know what, no, because I'm
really not sorry.
No, I'm not, because I feel like I've done you a service and love you, so
I love it so much. So we're going to do some tough love today, because there are some specific groups of people I think we're going to be speaking to in this episode. Those people probably are going to be those that are either, number one, feeling stuck. So if you're feeling a little bit stuck,
we all feel it.
Totally, we all feel it. That was me a couple of weeks ago, actually, and I got some tough love from some tough loving people that pointed a big fat finger and told me to have a bit of a look at what was going on. And then we've also got those people that are starting out. So I want to speak to those two groups of people today. But
love it.
Tell me a little bit, Kyrya, about your past. Now, don't go to, let's keep it clean. We just want to hear.
Don't give you all the words.
I don't want all the past. I want the direct selling part. So that's another thing we should pre-warn people about. Our conversations could go anywhere.
Yes. I mean, and look, this is just the thing, because we do like to have a chat. Who are we? You know, this is the business it is. First of all, I also have to apologize because there is a bird that has decided to, attach itself right outside that window there. And despite the fact that I keep trying to, wave it away, it has decided it is now joining us for the podcast. So you're welcome. Yeah. That's my backup dancer. Anywho, look, I think the first thing I want to say before I even speak about, my experience is to be quite clear. Again, this is probably me just being who I am. So anyways, here we are. Just know that everything comes with love. And that is that sometimes people will say, well, those who can't do teach. Please let me be clear when I tell you, it has got nothing to do with me not being able to do this business. In fact, like Sam and I were mentioning the other week, I sometimes have been sitting back thinking to myself, you know what? I feel like I'm on the wrong side. Maybe I do need to go out there. Let me go and build the business again, because maybe I can help more people that way and da-da-da-da. Here's the problem. My specific business that I am working with in the SeneGence business, the thing is that, I was with them when they were a lot smaller. And now that they've gotten bigger, it's like all of the distributors are my chickens, right? So how does the hen kick the chickens out and then just start her own new family? I am not the magpie down the street who just goes, no, you were my child last season. These are my new children, right? So I think honestly, it's because like you say, Sam, and I suppose, I don't know, maybe it's a reflection moment, but I have to have that conversation with myself, because I think, okay, well, what am I going to do here? And I suppose that will then lead into me speaking about, the fact that I actually built a particular business with a particular direct selling company. Now, also as well, I'm not the person who will do the whole, I used to do with this, brand, and I'm not ever going to be that person. So I won't be saying who it is that I used to work with. What I will tell you though, is that the reason I decided to even begin with, direct selling or multi-level marketing is I've always been a little bit different. Who are we kidding? The thing is that, and probably the way that I'm different is that I don't just look at something and say, oh, well, everyone else said don't do that, so don't do that. Not that I'm the person who's like, right, well, everyone said don't do that, so I'm going to do that. I look at it and I actually have the ability to look at something and say, okay, is that something that would work for me? And is that something that could work for a lot of people? And at that particular time in my life, I was so hell-bent on trying to help people. I didn't have the funds to do that. So I found an opportunity that gave me, an opportunity that allowed me to show other people how they could make money and how that would then be able to help them. Now, through that, whether it be personal development, whether it's because it was something that they wanted to invest in, et cetera, that's what I did. So, and I was quite, and I don't want to say I was successful. I want to say that I put a lot of effort into a lot of people, and my team and I were successful.
Yeah.
The reason, and this is the first question I ask everybody as well, I'm like, well, if you're that successful, love, then why are you still there? So let me tell you why that is. And that is because you need to 100% have faith in what you're working with. Because if you're providing a solution for someone and that solution is a product, if you don't believe in that product, pick yourself up and walk out now. Hi, sorry, not sorry. Because if you don't believe
there it is. It's a tough love.
Whoop, there it is. Because if you don't genuinely believe in something, it will eventually come across. May not in the beginning, may not next week, but it will eventually come across, right? And so for me, I had to look at the products that we had available. And at that particular time, there was a lot of other products on the market that were not only becoming very much on par, but then they sort of started to actually be a bit better than the products that we had, and they were cheaper. So for me, and also
so this was the business that you're working in before.
This is the business I was working in before, right? So I then had to sort of stop and go, okay, where are we at with this, Kyrya? Is this something you can continue to provide people? And is this something that you can provide for anybody? And I no longer believed that was the case. So I actually unsigned, my manager's thing. And, there was no hard feelings or anything like that. And I explained it all to my team and said, look, if this is something that you still think is going to be great and amazing for you, then fantastic. I have found myself personally that this is no longer filling the cup that I, needed to have filled to help people. And because I was just so upfront about it, most people understood. There were a couple of people that got in a huff about it, and that's just because they wanted me to be there still to hold their hand. But
you're basically able to come in and be honest about where you were at and what the direction was. One of the things that I want to come back to, you said something before, and I was like, hey, now what? And you said people who can't do teach. Now, I know I've heard this before. And I've kind of glossed over it in the past. I just want to address this for a little second because I know there is truth to this.
There is to some degree.
Sometimes there's truth to this. And we were just talking about this a few moments ago, actually, because we were talking about how there are some people in this industry that teach others to do exactly what they do. And that's not always the right fit for everybody else.
Indeed.
There are also those that teach because they're doing exactly what they're meant to be doing. And what's really interesting about that is you and I have had the conversation about, I wish I could go back into the industry. And sometimes I get those little heart pulls where it's like, I want to go back. But then I remember something, and that is how incredibly and insanely rewarding it is. And I know you'll feel this as well. When you
100%.
get to see the impact that what you're teaching or showing or sharing with somebody is having on not just their business, but it also reflects and ripples throughout their life. Because when they're successful in their business, they're then getting their dreams, their goals, their income. It's giving them their work-life balance that they want. It's allowing them to be a better parent, travel, do all of those things that they want to do. And so, yes, there are some people that teach because they don't know how to do it. It's easier to teach it. But there are other people that teach because they are so incredibly passionate about sharing the knowledge and information that not only they have, but they do know how to use. It's just that their positioning in life, what they're supposed to be doing, is so clearly in the teaching space. And so I do want to encourage people to be very careful about the teachers that they listen to. I know 100%. We are not the right people for everybody, and we're really clear about that. I know that you wouldn't necessarily resonate with everybody, but I want to caution all of our listeners right now. There are people out there that are sharing information that is not congruent, that doesn't work, that in fact may have a detrimental effect on your business and other people around you. The question you should always ask yourself first is, do I resonate with that person and what they're teaching me? Is what they're teaching congruent? Meaning, are you seeing results from other people? Are you seeing results in that person's business? If I tell you to do something and I don't do it myself, it's a pretty good indicator that perhaps maybe listening to me isn't a great idea. But if you can see us practicing what we preach on social media, you can see Kyrya going out there and doing what she's teaching other people to do. If she tells you to put your lipstick on a particular way, but she does it a different way, I probably wouldn't.
What a joke. I wouldn't. But you wouldn't take that person seriously. And I know this sounds horrible, but at the same time also is that, don't tell me something that you don't believe in. And that comes down to all different products as well. If you don't believe in a top sheet, don't sell one. I know that I
do believe in top sheets, by the way.
I totally believe in top. I am about those hospital corners all day long. Let me talk to you about it. However, there's some people who don't like the top sheet, and that's totally fine. Anywho, I digress.
I could talk about top sheets a bit longer here because I have stories. But we won't go down that road. But I do just want to use an example, actually, not about top sheets, but about a coach that just to sort of go back to that whole congruency thing. When you are watching other people in the industry, if someone gets on the stage at your conference, or you listen to someone, you watch somebody, you take on what somebody is telling you, just have a quick look at who they are, what they do, and why they do it. I once had a coach came to me. I've always believed in having a coach, a business coach, and that person has changed 100%. Throughout my journey, because you need someone to call you and hold you to account. And I had this guy come to me maybe a year and a half ago, and he said, Sam, I'd really like to talk to you about being your coach. And I said, okay, well, tell me a little bit about what you do. And he gave me a bit of information. And he said, I am amazing at teaching people how to grow their businesses. And, I've worked with this person, this person, this person, this person. He said, I'd like to help you with yours. And I asked him the question, do you know anything about social media? And he went, No, not really. And then I asked him to show me a little bit about what he was doing in his business. And here's the thing, he still didn't have a business that was operating to a point where he could sustain his own lifestyle. He also was too afraid to charge for what he did. And yet his job was teaching other people how to charge for their services. And I just went, you know what? This
Love
is
you,
exactly
but
why.
maybe not.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this is not what we were going to talk about today, but I do just want to encourage you. Yes, there are people who teach because they don't know how to do it, and it's easy to teach it because they know the fundamental rules. But then there are other people who are helping people get results, that have got results for themselves in the past. Kyrya, you're one of those people. So I highly encourage anybody who is listening today, have a listen to what Kyrya's got to say, because she's been there, she's done it, she's walked the walk, and she's going to say it exactly how it is.
I do, 100%. Completely, yes. All right, so hit me with the first one, my friend.
Right, so I want to talk to you a little bit about some observations that you might have made of people in the last few years. One of the things that you and I chatted about earlier and on our previous recording was the fact that—
dress rehearsal,
yeah, our dress rehearsal, we'll call it that. Can I just say my makeup was much better in the dress rehearsal than it is right now?
Oh, don't even worry. My lighting was like literally amazeballs. I have got 2 ring lights here, of which I have clearly realised it is a hard no, and off I go to get something else. But that's okay, because
the lighting looks great now. I think it's doing really well. But we had matched our lip sense last time, if you remember.
Yes, we fully had. Oh, no, it was great.
Okay, so to come back to what I was talking about, see, this is what happens when Kyrya and I get chatting, goes all over the show.
I know.
If you're confused right now, that's okay.
That's okay. You're on the right track.
You are. Okay. So one of the things that we were talking about is the fact that when you and I first started in the industry, I was 14. So we're talking okay.
There's always those people.
It wasn't a really long time ago, but technically speaking, it was 20 years ago. So maybe slightly longer. But back then, sorry, I'm just trying to do the maths in my head, and this is always a bad thing. Okay, so it was over 20 years ago. The point is that back then we didn't have social media. I remember internet was this thing where, you had like 5 different websites to try off the back of cereal packets. I was still using the fax machine to communicate with my friends every day. I know those of you right now that are wondering what's a fax machine, you can turn this podcast off right now. You are not welcome here. So it was a very different industry is where I'm going with this. It was a very different industry back then. And we were having to deal with people belly to belly, face to face. We hear people saying a lot, this is a belly to belly industry. Yes, it is. It is a belly to belly industry, but it's changed. It's morphed. So my question to you is, what would you say has been the biggest and most challenging change over the last, say, 20 years from when you were in the industry to what you're observing now? Because I know there's a lot of people that were in the industry then and they're still in the industry now.
Well, look, I have to say, probably one thing that I can say that is a bit different, that I honestly put down a lot of my success to making sure that I was very proactive when it came to making sure that I had the right mindset. And I'm not, when I say the right mindset, I'm not looking at like a positive comment on Facebook and going, oh God, that's just totally great. I'm talking about like actually listening to motivational CDs, listening to, people that are actually in the know, like the legit people, like that are selling stuff, selling me a CD, those people. I don't see a huge amount of that happening today. And I have to say that I do believe it does have a lot to do, like people's mindset does have a massive amount to do with how they do things. However, let me be clear. I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, with positive thinking, you can do everything. One thing I will tell you, though, is that with positive thinking, you'll always be able to do everything better than if you had negative thinking. Yeah. Right. So that's probably one of my biggest things, is that people getting themselves into the right mindset is a huge thing. And I don't see that that's necessarily, following on as much. But I think also as well is that people have kind of gotten to where they are today and have said, oh, right, well, this is the only way you can do it. So let's just keep doing it that way. Thing is that, last time I checked, the definition of an insanity is continuing to do something the same way and then just being like genuinely shocked that you don't have a different result.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes.
So we have been seeing a lot of that recently where you've got people that are feeling like, you know what, this worked for me. It's continued to work for me. Why on earth would I change it now? And this is this is a common conversation we have with people. I feel like this is a real struggle zone because it's hard sometimes to accept that something that is new people even that have adopted the new thing can come in and take over where you have laid the foundations and the pathway once upon a time.
And the hard yards, yes.
Done the hard yards. And there's a very different workout ethic out there right now. I'm just going to put it out there. It annoys me as much as anybody. This is not what we're here to talk about today, but the work ethic can be a little challenging to watch and observe. But here's the thing. There is something about working smarter, not harder. And
100%.
Us old schoolies, and I'm going to call myself an old schooler here for a moment because I'm a true believer in pick the phone up, do some cold calling, get out there, meet people face to face, have an in-person if you get the opportunity to do it. You said to me, Kyrya, a while ago, you know, why are people going to events without bringing someone with them? You know, it's this whole old school method of doing things that kind of has been a little bit lost, but that doesn't mean that we can't adapt and take on new things, new ways of doing things. And here's a little 100%. Secret. You don't have to do that at anyone's pace but your own. I think the challenge is, and this is where I want to go next with this. There has been this assumption that in order for you to be successful, you need to do what someone else is doing. You need to be somebody else. So I'm just going to hand over to you for a little moment because I know that you've been observing this happening out there.
So, I mean, and here's the thing, love that. The thing is that, and probably an example I've given you before is that, you know, my sister and I, same parents, I have dieted my whole life and I'm still not the size that I would love to be. My sister looks like Kim Kardashian. It just naturally looks like that, eats whatever she wants, skips around, everything's fine. So, I mean, is that fair? Well, I don't actually feel like it's fair. But the reality is that if I continue to judge my self-worth based off of somebody who had the exact same genetic makeup as me, and I was like, I can't do this because I've did it. It's really irrelevant. I mean, and this is the thing is, and I understand though, I do understand how it can happen because quite often with different recognition programs and all that sort of stuff, like, you do look at someone else, oh, look what she's doing. Oh, look what she's doing. Here's the thing though, what doesn't really no matter what somebody else does, I've got 3 questions for you. Does that person get you out of bed? Does that person pay your bills? And is that person somebody that you highly respect and know loves you and has your best interests at heart? If they don't say yes to all of those 3 things, then please also be aware of the fact that you don't necessarily need to worry what that person has to say.
Yeah.
You know, and you need to compare apples with apples, not, you know, apples with dragon fruit. And I think that's one of the biggest things that people need to understand is, you know, you might want to be an apple. Here's the thing, you're a dragon fruit. Get used to it. I don't care if you don't like pink. You are pink. Deal. And I know that might sound again a bit like, well, but you need to be realistic because I can promise you right now, I honestly believe no matter what, that everybody could be successful in this industry. I believe that people can be successful. What that success looks like, by the way, will be different for everybody. But I do believe that everyone can be successful, but they need to make sure that they're not comparing themselves to people who they will never be.
Yeah.
You know, and be okay with your results.
Yeah. So this is a really good little reminder because I think particularly when we're doing social media, we get a bit hung up on, but I have to do it the way that person's doing it. And we were just talking about an instance where we've watched some people out there that have been mimicking what their leader is doing. And the challenge with that is that the leader has figured out their own way. They've figured out their method of communicating with their ideal customer, their way of speaking, their way of being. And as their team are mimicking that, the team is starting to think that there's something wrong with them because they're not getting the results. And the reason they're not getting the results is because it's not who they are. It's not who their audience is. Now, you did say something to me on the dress rehearsal.
Yes, on the dress rehearsal.
to never forget, I'm going to hand over. Do you know where I'm going with this?
Yes.
Go.
Never forget that you were once brand new. Never forget what it's like to be that. That's not what you were looking for? That is what you were looking
that was
for?
good. I was like, yeah,
that
she
was the one.
binary. That's
okay,
great.
Right. Sorry. I just was like, oh, no, hold on. I've got it wrong.
No, you didn't. No, you got it.
And I think the thing is, it's so important about that. Sorry, I'm just now totally like, you've given me a go and here I am on your marks, get set. And that is because, honestly, if you can remember what it's like to be brand new, then you won't have an issue with knowing what it's like to be brand new in all the various different levels of the business. If you can remember what it's like to be brand new, because the moment that you can no longer connect with every single level that is in your team or within your business, you will start to have a failing in that part. I promise you, I can literally give you examples. And so, I don't know, it's something that I always think, because you may not think that something is that important. You might think, oh, well, you know, this is this and I'll just get that one again. But you don't know what it's taken for that person to get to X, you know, and you might be writing people off that if they had just had a little bit of the right support could actually have been their next biggest thing.
Do you know, I love that, because I think that comes back to so many different parts of what we do. And this is actually something we're going through right now, which is really interesting because I think the timing of it is brilliant. When you have been doing something for a while and you've learned new things, you've morphed, you've grown, it's really easy to forget the foundations. It's really easy
100%.
to forget the stuff that gave you what you needed to grow to where you are now. And sometimes without paying any attention to those foundations, they kind of crumble and disintegrate a little bit because we're not giving them the love that they need. We're not tending to them. We're not spending a bit of time on them. And we're so focused on that, you know, the amazing technology that we've learned. You guys have been using some clever technology to communicate with your customers, to remind you to communicate with your customers, etc. And that's all great. But if you are not actually connecting with your customers, picking the phone up, doing a little bit of learning, doing some of the basic stuff you had to do at the very beginning,
100%.
pulling your diary out and having a look at, you know, have I got enough appointments in my diary this week in order to keep my business going? You can do all the clever technology you want, and this stuff down here goes by the wayside, and suddenly you're wondering, why is my business not growing? And we actually had a little interesting conversation last week where we went, hang on a minute, we launched this amazing new webinar last week, and I just felt like it just didn't feel like it was getting the results that I wanted it to get for people. And when we sat down and had a look at it, we went, hang on a minute, what have we changed between the webinars that we used to do a year and a half ago and the webinars that we're doing now? And so we decided we're going to go back and revamp one of our old webinars and see what happens when we do that. When I went back and had a look, I realized there was all this foundational stuff that I used to have in there that I've got rid of because I've assumed everyone knows it now because I've taught it. The problem is we've got all these new people coming in that now don't know the foundational stuff.
Listen, and that's the thing, is I think that there's definitely an element whereby, sure, you can continue to repeat the same thing over and over again. However, I think, you know, and this is just even recently with one of our events that we've got at some stage, and it's just basically that so many people think that it's, okay, so this is how you edit a TikTok, or this is how you edit blah. Meanwhile, I'm over here like, hi, I don't actually have an Instagram account. You know, and I think that that's the thing, is that a lot of people forget how to do the basics. Now, here's the cool part. If you are continuing to teach people the basics, you'll have somebody that comes in, like exactly that kind of person that you're saying, who comes in, who comes roaring in, yeah, I'm doing this, that, and that. But if you're continually making sure that the foundations, all of the basics or the intros of things are continuing to be put out there, when you have somebody who's having a moment where they're just like, I just can't do this thing and it's just too hard, it actually is a stop for those who get a bit stuck, and it can make them say, okay, you know what, just stop for a second. And when you can actually have that conversation, and it's not confronting because it's the same thing you've been saying at this and this time, and you can say to them, look, you know, I continue to keep looking at the basics because you always want to make sure that, number one, they are still the basics and that the basics don't need to be tweaked because, now we're not using, I don't know, this format. Now Facebook's changed and now you find this over here, that's when you would update those things. But if you're continuing to show people that the basics are important, when you have people that are getting stuck and feeling like, I just can't do it, it's too hard, you actually have the opportunity to say, well, look, this is why I find the basics is so important. Let's just stop for a second. Let's have a look at where you're at and let's see, are there any basics that you need to reevaluate? Is there any of the basics that maybe you need to sort of go back over again? Because it's so amazing to find out there's so many people that a lot of the time the reason that things aren't working is because they're not doing some of the basic things right.
I completely agree. It's these people that are running the very clever Facebook ads, but they haven't actually worked out how to put a basic post out there that gets interaction from their ideal customer. And they wonder why
actually
growth with the ads.
My other favorite, if I'm being 100% Kyrya, is that they go, oh, look, my content is just fab. I don't really understand why people aren't wanting to buy my stuff. The thing is, and this is honestly, this is why I can't watch shows like American Idol or Australian Idol or any of those things, because I sit there half the time going, where are your family and friends? Where are they? Are they okay with the fact that you're up here and you do not have the skill set to be up here? Or is it like a joke? Or where are we at with this? Yep. You know what I mean? Because the reality is that sometimes, and, like you were saying before, Sam, I sort of look at it and I think to myself, is it tough love? Or is it actually that you genuinely care about that person and you genuinely want them to do well? So I actually look at it as it's not tough love, it's actual genuine love, because I actually genuinely want you to succeed. However, I am looking at, i.e. the content here and saying, you know what? That's not the content I look at and think, oh, that's a really great solution for blah. I might buy that. I'm looking at it thinking, oof, no. And then I just scroll up to the next thing.
Yeah.
So it is one of those also.
Yeah. No, I think that's really true. If you're not getting the interaction from those closest to you, and it doesn't mean that your family and friends are necessarily your ideal customer, but they will give you some interaction, some form of feedback. I know that when we put anything out there on social media, my family and friends are not my ideal customer. You guys are direct sellers, people with network marketing, party plan, MLM businesses. But my family are the first ones to like any post that we do. They're the first ones to share a video that Greg and I might do, not because they want to be our customers, but because they support us and they're proud of us. Now, it's going to be the same with you in your business. You will notice those closest to you, and it might not be your mum and your dad. And my mum and my dad don't share my stuff, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Well, fine. I don't want your people anyways.
But my friends are going to be those people that are commenting and checking it out. They're the people that when I walk downstairs will say to me, oh, we saw that video you did yesterday. That was fantastic. And these are not people I expect to interact with my stuff, but the fact that they do is a good indicator that we're being truthful to who we are and we're being congruent with what we believe in. Now, if you in your business, whether you do beauty products or health products or whatever that is, whether your family and friends buy from you is irrelevant, but if they comment on, like your posts, interact with you in some way, or even share your stuff, that's usually a good indicator that you're putting something out there that people are interested in seeing a little bit more of. And it starts with family and friends. As they start to push stuff out there and they give you that feedback in that way, then you're sort of on the right track and you keep putting your stuff out there. When not even your family and friends interact, that's where you need to consider, am I putting the right stuff out there right now? No,
and I think also as well, like just to quickly add to that, just before you go on, is that you also need to make sure that you are approachable. When you go to someone and say, so do you like this? I mean, what are they going to say? Like, hi, guess what? I just don't want to have to be dealing with the confrontation of telling you, like, get that off. Or, you know what I mean? So make sure that you are actually approachable, number one, and make sure that you have the humility to actually listen to what somebody else is saying.
Yeah.
Now, if you honestly, with all your gumption, like with everything in you makes you think, okay, I'm sorry, but that person is not right. I mean, look at what they're achieving. And if they're not asking you to be them and they're achieving amazing things and are telling you that you need to slightly alter what you're doing so it's still you, then chances are they're probably telling you the truth. And I think that's where you've got to work. Like when you say that you're stuck and that you want help, do you actually want help? Or do you just want somebody that you can whinge to? Sorry.
Yeah. No, I like it because it's really true. And this is the thing. We actually we're having a little chat today about the next webinar that we're launching in a week. And one of the things that Greg said, Sam, you have to say this at the start, is, are you actually going to do the work? Do you want help and are you going to do the work? Because a lot of people jump up and down and say, I'm not getting the results. I don't know what to do next. I'm not, I don't know what to do. And yet they're kind of wanting the problem to solve itself rather
than to do the work for them.
You to do the work. I think if they genuinely think about it, that's not what they're looking for. I think they're just wanting some magical fix to happen. And I would encourage you, again, this is the tough love episode, but I would encourage you to stop and think for a moment before I go pointing the finger, because let's face it, all of us do this, but we see this a massive amount in this industry. Distributors are very good at pointing the finger at the head office, at their leader, at everyone else out there around them before they stop and turn their finger around and go, hang on a minute, what am I doing right now? And this is the thing. We've seen people be insanely successful in this industry who have no leader because their leader has left the business, who don't get any support from head office for various different reasons. Maybe they live out in the sticks and yet they're still hitting their goals, doing everything that they want to be doing in their business because they're putting the work in. And sometimes that is about learning something new, and that can be really challenging. But I really want to encourage you guys, if you feel challenged right now, it's probably because you need to be challenged. And that's and
it's honestly, it's out of genuine love. This is honestly where it's at. It's genuine love, because the reality is that, I mean, I love to chat to people and have a good conversation, but I don't want to waste my breath on somebody either. Like if you're not one, that sounds actually really awful. I didn't mean it like that. I mean,
no, I get what you mean though. Like
you know what I mean? And I think this
blue
is
in the face.
Also, well, and I don't want to ever be that person that's like, listen, if you're not going to do anything, then, pick up your bag and leave now. I don't ever want to be that person, right? At the same time though, I will also tell people that if you want results from something, you will have to work. I do not believe in any way, shape or form. And frankly, if someone tells you that this is like, you can make lots of money, you can make it really fast and no, I'm sorry. That's not how it is. You can't necessarily come barreling in here and make all the money really, really fast. Some elements you can, but if you want this to be a business, not just like a quick thing that you get involved in, with any normal business, you would make sure that you do your calculations. You would make sure that you have set yourself up properly.
Easy come, easy go. How many people have we seen come and go from this industry where, you get the people that skyrocket to the top, but they're also the people that disappear overnight. It's the people 100%. That stop and build a business, the people that build the relationships that are they've got something sustainable at the end of the day. And the slower you do that, not necessarily slower, but the more thoroughly that you do that,
yes, exactly,
the better your business is going to be at the end of the day. And I have seen some amazing people who have been in this industry for 20 odd years who have slowly been chipping away at that block. And suddenly something changes. They think after 20 years, I'm never going to be that top leader, but something changes. I spoke to someone just last week who has literally been in this industry for 20 years. In fact, we did a podcast interview with her. So if you're listening to our podcast, you will hear this interview. And she chatted with me about the fact that she's been doing it for 20 years, but then last year something changed. And she simply stuck with what she was passionate about. She pivoted slightly, that word. She made slight adjustments, made some slight adjustments, and she stuck with what she knew in her gut was right. And her business quadrupled last year, and she ended up, tons of awards last year. And all it took was her just consistently building, and she built on a foundation. So she had that amazing foundation she stuck to, and she continued to adjust. And she's one of those people that also doesn't do what she's been doing because she's, this is the way. She's always looking for, how can I learn? How can I grow?
How can I do this better? Yes. No, quite right. But
So,
I think that's the thing though, Sam, is that you have to want to look outside the square sometimes. If you're not getting if you're not getting the results that other people might be getting, whether you've been doing this for 2 seconds or 20 years,
yeah, definitely. And I just want to ask, because we need to, as we knew this would happen, always going over time. I do need to wrap up. But I do
have to give you, the 5-minute mark. Look,
5-minute warning, Sam. All right, quick question for you, Kyrya. Let's see how quickly you can answer it. If you were back in the field right now, what one thing would you be focusing on?
Customer follow-up.
Okay.
Customer follow-up. I know that might sound completely random, and that is simply because I think so many people are so busy trying to sell their wares that they actually stop. They forget to stop and remember to touch base with those people. And I think also as well is
moving on to the next sale. They move on to the next sale. They're so focused on the next sale, they forget about nurturing.
And that's the thing is that if you've got a customer base, like why are you doing that? And and also I think making sure that you are relevant to the customer base that you have. Like I'm not, back in the day when I was in the when I say the beauty industry, I mean like as in having my own salon, there's certainly no chance that I'd be having these ridiculously super dark tans or, glittery nails and all the rest of it. If my market was people that wanted to have short nails with a French, and who weren't interested in any type of sun product of any description. Yeah. So, you need to make sure that you're relevant for the people that you're with. And sometimes you need to do a stock take and actually check that out.
Yep. Good. I love it. Now I've got 2 last little questions, actually. Yes. Possibly 3. We'll see how we go.
That's okay. Go.
So if somebody right now is one of those people that feels like they are stuck, they've been in this industry for whatever period of time, maybe it's 6 months, maybe it's a year, maybe it's 10 years, but they feel stuck. They're like, I'm not getting results. I don't know what to do. I just want some help to get unstuck. What's one quick piece of advice you could offer that person?
Go back to the basics. Pretend you're a brand new person again. And introduce the business to yourself as a brand new person.
Yeah.
Because when you do that, it actually helps you to take stock of what you're doing and see whether or not you're actually getting in your own way.
Love it. That's actually a really, really amazing piece of advice. And I think that's very powerful. Love it. So let's flip the coin to the other group of people that we were talking about when we first started off today. If someone's starting in this business right now, has no idea what they're doing, maybe they've got a leader, maybe they don't, that's supporting them, but they are starting out. What's one piece of advice that you would offer to that person who is starting to build their business right now?
Can I have 2 pieces?
You can have 2. I'll give you 2
pieces. Yes. Okay. So first of all is make sure that you actually have some sort of goal set out. And what I mean by that is something that you can actually measure. Because if you don't measure something, you can't actually improve on it. So when you're having the times where you're stuck, you can look back and go, oh, well, actually, hang on, maybe I'm doing better than that over there. That's number 1. And then number 2 is, please, for the love of anything, do not compare yourself to other people. Make sure that what you're hoping to get out of this business is something that you can get out of this business.
Yeah.
If you are trying to sell men's underwear and you don't wear it, like, you're not going to be as great as Brad Pitt at selling it. Sorry, I'm just putting it out there. Yeah. So you need to be mindful of comparison and make sure that it doesn't end up paralyzing you as a result.
Yep. Love it. So good. All right. Last but definitely not least.
Okay.
This is a question I asked you on the last episode. I'm going to ask you again.
Let me see if I can remember what my answer was, but yes.
You may not remember. I may be putting you on the spot. But here's the deal. I remember what you answered. I'm curious to see if you say the same thing. Yes. Talk about a challenge. So, Kyrya, you are one of the most upbeat and energetic, positive people I know. You're one of those people where if I come off a phone call with you, I always feel that little bit more upbeat, that little bit more energetic.
Despite the tough love today, but that's okay.
That's okay. I'm hoping everyone's appreciated the tough love. We can't be nice all the time.
No, unfortunately. I'm sorry. I know that sounds horrible, but anyways. But yes, go on.
I'm in that mood right now. I've had several phone calls this week with people where I feel like I've repeated the same thing for the 10th time over to the same person and they're still not doing what I told them to do the first time and they're wondering why the result hasn't changed.
Imagine
off
that.
the high horse, back to the question. You are one of the most energetic, positive people I know, except for the tough love interview that we've done today. But I want to know where you get your energy from. So if someone's going, how do I be energetic like that? No, you can't be Kyrya. You need to be you. But the question is, where do you get your energy from? I want to know.
I mean, look, I will be honest, and I don't know if it's different to my other answers, so please let me know if it is, because I'd like to know what that other answer is as well.
I'll tell you what you said before in a minute.
Okay, if it's not what it is. Okay, good. So, look, I think for me personally, and this is one of the things I absolutely love about the direct selling industry, is the fact that, you know, we actually get to help people make a difference in their lives. And some people might say, oh, yeah, blah, blah, blah. But the thing is that I've seen people be able to, you know, retire their husbands. And then I've seen other people who have been able to bring in $100 a week more. And that's actually changed their life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've seen some people who may not have been super huge business people, but like I've seen that person become them again.
Yes.
Because they kind of forgot who that was.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have the opportunity to see that, like, that's just something that's amazing, honestly. And I feel privileged to be able to have the opportunity to help people provide solutions for people. So, I mean, look, that's one of the things that helps keep me positive.
Yeah, that's what you said last time. You said it better this time. So I think.
Okay. Oh, well, there you go then. Good job. But I think that's the thing, though, honestly, on the days when you're just feeling like, you know, do you know what? Honestly, I put everyone to task on this. On the days when you're feeling a bit like, ugh, I'm just going to do this, go and have a look at somebody who's brand new, or go and have a look at somebody who's been in your business or in your team for a little bit of time. And you know what? Give them a call. Hi, how you going? And if you don't feel like you can handle a phone call, because I'm sorry, I understand everyone's dealing with all types of different anxieties at the moment, whether it be virtual fatigue or they just can't deal, whatever, send a voice message, not a text message. Send a voice message so that they can hear what you are, or even a video message, because I'm telling you right now, people find it just as entertaining when I trip over things and then, you know, I have to quickly pick up something else. You know, just make that little tiny connection with that person and allow them to tell you how they are.
Yeah.
And in your mind, get yourself ready for a little positive nugget that you can share with them about why it is that you chose them, because that person has got the ability, like there's something about that person that you've gone, you know, that's actually a really cool thing that you do there. Don't know if you do, not sure if you're aware of that, but let me just remind you, because I promise you right here, right now, if you genuinely reach out to people that may not be aware of the fact that they don't see themselves through the glasses that you see them through, and you help them to take those glasses off and see them through your lenses.
Yeah.
I task you with coming away feeling worse when you've made someone's day.
That is massively powerful. I love that. I'm gonna put that on my list of little, you know, inspirational to-dos this week. I think that's
nuggets.
That's one of my nuggets. There's another gold nugget. I love it. It's true. If you help someone else feel great,
fully,
it's impossible not to feel good.
Yeah. Yes, and honestly, sometimes they are the times, because I'll be honest with you, no matter which side of the fence you're on with this business, there are times when you sit there thinking, I changed my mind. I don't want this anymore. And I stop, and I have times in my life where
we do that in any business. I can't tell you how many times I tried to quit in the last 12 months.
Well, this is what I'm saying. It just literally doesn't matter what industry, wherever you are.
Yeah.
I'm just saying is that on the times when you're thinking, you've got to have those remember moments. Yeah. Remember why you're doing this. Yeah. So what are some of the things that you can remember to help you get through times when you can't remember why you're doing it?
I love that. That's really powerful. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Kyrya. And I think we are going to have to wrap up, because
we will totally have to, because otherwise you'll have to edit out about 25 minutes worth of content, and we wouldn't want to do that. No?
Yeah, we're about to turn into pumpkins. So I just want to say thank you so much for tuning in, to be a fly on the wall and listening to this haphazard yet fun and gold nugget filled
all over the show.
Yeah. I hope you've got a couple of gold nuggets out of here, but I just want to encourage all of you. I feel like I say this so often, but I'm going to say it again. Be yourself. You are amazing just as you are, and you can build the business of your dreams, have the lifestyle of your dreams, not by being somebody else, but by simply being you. And sometimes that's the thing that we've got to get into our thick heads, is that we are actually capable of doing all of those things with what we have. We don't need anything else that is outside of ourselves. It doesn't mean that we don't learn and grow and challenge ourselves, but it does mean that there is nothing missing. There is nothing missing. So the fact that you know, your nose is the shape that it is, your hair's the color that it is, the house that you have is the way that it is, and your video skills are what they are, it doesn't mean that you are not capable of doing everything that it takes to build the business that you set out to build. So if you're feeling a little bit deflated right now, number one, you're not alone. And number two, you are awesome as you are. So be yourself.
And honestly, even just quickly, like adding to that as well, is understand the fact that, you know, even though, and this is something I will tell you from personal experience. So I actually hate having to go live on Facebook or basically anywhere social. And that is because I think to myself, oh my gosh, what do these people want to hear from me? And that's somebody who's from head office talking to the field. Now, the only way I was able to get through it is because I was like, well, technically they need to know this information. Then I realized that not only was I constantly like, you know, dropping things and I was talking in my live, or, you know, I'd just do something ridiculous in, you know, Kyrya style. But in the end, it actually made people kind of laugh hysterically. And even though I'm not, you know, the polished flight attendant type person that I really would like to be able to, you know, come across as, I think in some respects it made people relatable. And those who aren't relatable, those who I'm not relatable to, well, that's okay, because at least I've helped out some people. So keep that in mind. You are relatable to the people that find you relatable. And that's actually,
you're not here to please everyone.
No, you don't want to be the same as everyone else. Boring.
Love it. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Kyrya. I really appreciate you taking the time out twice.
Oh, my pleasure. Now I feel quite honoured. Other people are stuck having to listen to my voice.
Well, I mean, they're probably not going to hear the first episode, but let's just say I think they're getting the better one. So we've now done a dress rehearsal. Let's hope this one worked. I will laugh very hard if this hasn't. So I'm hoping and praying.
I mean, if it doesn't, then at least you know. At least I've got an opportunity to get better lighting.
You know, we'll work on it again. We'll improve something else. But thank you guys for listening in. We're going to let you all get back on with your weeks. But thank you so much for taking the time out, Kyrya, sharing some of your golden nuggets and your wisdom with all of us, and your beautiful, positive energy and tough love. I appreciate your time.
No, thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Have a really amazing week. And we will see you all again on the podcast next week. Tune in then. Bye for now.